Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to break down one of Python's most essential data structures, the tuple. And trust me, understanding this is absolutely key if you want to write code that's cleaner, safer, and way faster. So let's get right into it. So let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever been writing some code, maybe for some configuration settings or a set of coordinates, and you just had that feeling like, I really need to make sure this data can never, ever be changed by accident? Well, that exact problem, that need for data protection, is exactly what we're here to solve today. Okay, so let's start at square one. What in the world is a Python tuple, really? At its heart, a tuple is a collection of items that is ordered and unchangeable. Now, I want you to burn that word into your brain. Unchangeable. That's its secret sauce. That's what makes a tuple the perfect container for any data that you need to lock down and protect. A tuple's whole identity really boils down to three main traits. First, it's ordered, which just means every item has a specific spot and an index number, starting from 0. Second, and this is its superpower, it is unchangeable, or what programmers call immutable. The best way to think about it is like text carved into stone. Once it's there for good. And third, it totally allows duplicates. You can have the same item in there 5 times if you want, no problem. All right, enough of the theory. Let's get our hands dirty and see how you actually create these things and start putting them to work in your own code. Creating a tuple is actually super simple. All you do is use round brackets, parentheses, and then just separate your items with a comma. It's these round brackets that are the visual cue that screams, hey, I'm a tuple, which is different from a list, which of course uses square brackets. Now, listen up, because this is the #1 mistake that trips up almost every beginner. If you need to make a tuple that only has one item in it, you absolutely must put a comma after that item. If you forget that little trailing comma, Python just sees parentheses around a value and thinks it's a plain old string. That comma is the crucial signal that tells Python, hey, this isn't just a string, this is a tuple. Tuples are also really flexible. They're not picky at all about what kind of data you put inside. You can have strings, numbers, booleans. You can even have a mix of all different types inside a single tuple. This makes them perfect for grouping together related bits of info that might not be the same type. So this brings us to the main event, the big question. If we already have lists, why do we even need tuples? It's a great question because they can seem pretty similar at first, but trust me, their differences are critical. So let's put them head to head. This table really says it all. The absolute biggest difference is mutability. Tuples are immutable, they cannot be changed. Lists are mutable, meaning you can add, remove, and change items all you want. Because of this, tuples also have better performance. They're faster and more memory efficient. And here's a really cool side effect. Since they're unchangeable, you can actually use a tuple as a key in a dictionary, which is something you can't do with a list. So you see, it's not about which one is better, it's all about using the right tool for the job. The rule of thumb is simple. If your data's integrity is the top priority, choose a tuple. If you know you're going to need to modify that collection later on, you'll want a list. And those performance benefits I mentioned, they're not just trivial. Let's make this real. Because they have a fixed size, tuples are just lighter. They use about 15% less memory than a list holding the exact same data. That efficiency carries over to speed, too. Getting an item from a tuple is roughly twice as fast as getting one from a list. Now, you might not notice that with a handful of items, but when you're working with thousands, yeah, it adds up. And, get this, even just creating them is faster. We're talking about 40% faster than making a list. So when your data is fixed, tuples aren't just the safer choice, they are lighter and faster across the board. Okay, so you've nailed the fundamentals. You get the key differences between tuples and lists. So now let's level up and check out some of the more elegant and powerful tricks you can do with tuples. This right here is one of my all-time favorite Python features. It's called unpacking. It's this beautiful way to assign each item inside a tuple to its own separate variable, all in one clean, readable line of code. So here, apple gets unpacked into the green variable, banana into yellow, and so on. It's just a fantastic way to make your code super clear. You can also put tuples inside of other tuples. This is called nesting, and it's an amazing way to create more complex, structured data, like, say, a grid of coordinates or groups of related items, all while keeping that core benefit of being unchangeable. Now, since you can't change tuples, they don't really need a bunch of methods for adding or removing things. They really only have 2 that you'll use. Counting, which, as you'd guess, tells you how many times a certain value appears. And index, which finds the position of the first time a value shows up. That's it. Simple, focused, and efficient. Whew, okay, we have covered a lot. So let's take all of that and boil it down into a final, simple rulebook that'll guide you on when and how to use tuples like a pro. So when should you reach for a tuple? Well, definitely when data integrity is your top priority. Think about things like configuration settings that should never change. They're perfect for fixed data like coordinate pairs or RGB color values. And one of my favorite uses, they're amazing for returning multiple values from a function in a single neat package. Let's wrap it all up with a quick best practices checklist. 1. Use tuples for data that should be fixed. 2. Use them to optimize performance when you don't need to make changes. 3. I'm going to say it one last time. Remember that comma for single item tuples. And 4. Use clear variable names, like something in all caps, to signal to other developers and your future self that this data is a constant. So remember, a tuple isn't just a list that you can't change. It is a specialized, powerful tool for guaranteeing data integrity and for boosting performance. So the real question I have for you is, now that you understand this power of immutability, where are you going to use tuples in your next project?